the Los Angeles Dodgers. And there is a very interesting topic tonight with the addition of David Peralta. What an interesting outfield the Dodgers have. I mean, it's going to be a puzzle to determine what they go out with on opening day with. Obviously, Cody Bellinger heads out. Mookie Betts obviously is going to be their right fielder, but there is a whole bunch of other positions in the mix. Chris Taylor, Trace Thompson, James Outman are the players that were there last season. Then you have David Peralta, who was signed, and then Jason Hayward, Bradley Zimmer, and Steven Duggar are all in the mix as well. Some new additions. Spring training for the Dodgers is going to be fun, especially paying attention to that outfield. David Peralta obviously had some fantastic years in Arizona. Didn't really pan out when he was traded to the Rays. What's your thoughts about this addition of Peralta and this big puzzle piece going on in the outfield for Dodgers?
Yeah, I think the Peralta deal makes a lot of sense for them, given that up until that point, they were going with the spaghetti theory in outfield. Throw something at the wall and hope it sticks, because they were looking at Mookie Betts and then one massive question mark in Chavez Ravine, like Chris Taylor striking out more than 35%, Trace Thompson at 36.5%, like that. I understand in Major League Baseball they were more tolerant of the strikeout, but that's unacceptable. And then, of course, adding Outman, and then they were like, anybody, can you play in outfield? Do you have a 17-inch glove? Cool, come on over here. Jason Hayward, Bradley Zimmer, Steven Duggar, hey. Maybe one of those will work, I read here on Major League Trade Rumors that Dave Roberts told Buster Olney that Hayward has a strong chance of making the club, and that's where they were before David Peralta. Does that settle the situation? I would argue, yeah, it does. But it's still a question mark and as I'm speaking, obviously, as somebody who paid a lot of attention to the Blue Jays, if Bradley Zimmer is one of your solutions, especially on the offensive side of things, you're in rough shape. So I think they kind of had to sign David Peralta. It's not a bad signing by any means. It's a good one. I think he'll do well, but it was almost necessary at that point.
Yeah, according to Fangraphs, all of the projected WOBA for these outfielders that we mentioned, all three of the current players that were already on the Dodgers, Chris Taylor, now for the record, who also plays infield, 75% of his appearances are in the outfield, but he is a pretty solid utility player. I mean, Chris Taylor is just outstanding. But Chris Taylor, Trace Thompson, and James Outman all have a higher projected WOBA. And then David Peralta comes in fourth place with 304. That's interesting. And then you obviously see Hayward, Zimmer, Duggar fill out the bottom half of this. Zimmer obviously is not an offensive guy. He's there for defense. I think he took the hit when the universal DH came in, and you don't really need a defensive specialist anymore. That's why Cleveland, I think, took the ship, and Toronto obviously didn't finish out with him. Peralta will make the team. I am very interested if Hayward will find a spot there. I can't see anything else happening. I'm interested on the Trace Thompson, just like you mentioned as well, because he had some great seasons. He had 142 WRC plus last season, but he also has a career strikeout of 36.5%. And that's absolutely dreadful. So where does it work, right? And David Roberts, we have seen some interesting work with his bench in the past. Well, we've seen what he's done with the bench. Maybe he has a good plan, and you can't really doubt him, because year after year, this team is always close to 100 wins or over 100 wins, and they find themselves in the playoff race year after year. Very interested to pay attention to this outfield race. However, David Peralta, I think, is a huge and a fantastic addition for this Dodgers team, who is going to take a step back. Let's be honest. They're going to take some sort of step back, but is it a big enough step back where the Padres pass them? That is a huge question that we'll be tracking all season long.